If you look at your Amazon advertising dashboard and you see over 70, 80 or 100% ACOS, that's probably not a profit problem, that's a settings problem. We generated over $100,000 in ad sales for this particular client by spending $52,000. It's this year at 36%. Now, this isn't going to be some magic video where I show you how to find secret keywords, how to get 10% ACOS campaigns. That is possible. It doesn't grow your business, by the way. We did it by titling 4 specific rows in the campaign settings that 90% of sellers completely ignore or don't even know about. And these are the exact ACOS hacks I will use today on struggling accounts, new accounts, established businesses that have saved millions of dollars for our clients in our agency. And the best part, you can implement all of them for today in just 15 minutes. In the next 15 minutes, I'll show you the 4 specific settings that you need to pay attention to. And I guarantee if you apply one of those, you'll see a better return on your ad spend next week. Let's get right in. I guarantee if you apply just one of those hacks, you'll see a better return on your ad spend next week. So let's jump right in. Hack number 1, placement inversion. Most accounts I audit, and I still see this happening in this day, is that there is zero strategy in optimizing placements. Once I audit the account and I see all the placements are flat, everything is set at 0, I know that this seller is not taking advantage of the biggest lever that can be pulled in advertising, which is managing your placements. Most people get this wrong. They have this bloated advertising campaigns with multiple keywords, ad groups, products, everything all at once. They think, the more products the better. In fact, it's the opposite, the less is better. Single keyword campaigns is the most effective campaign structure, regardless of what anyone says. People say it's too complicated to launch them. If you have the right automation in place, and I'm not talking about setting things on autopilot, I'm talking about efficient automation where you can take actions in bulk, you're in the driver's seat, you're not letting software set your target ACOS, etc. This is the way. Single keyword campaigns, you get maximum control over placements, and let me show you sort of what we're dealing with. First of all, this is an example of an optimized account. As you can see, most of those placements, and this is real data here, last 30 days. So as you can see here, the idea is whatever placement converts best, and typically this top of search and rest of search, because these are the only 2 placements that has a buyer intent, because it's on a search page. Once someone goes to the product pages, it's the type of buyer that's going to browse, compare, and they're probably not going to buy, they're going to buy in the next few weeks. So top of search and rest of search, remember, these are the only placements that are on the actual search page. They have an intent to buy the product. So what a well-optimized account looks like is that the ad spend split is based on the performance of this placement. So in fact, all of this should be similar here based on performance. So more ad spend is going towards top of search by design because it converts the highest. Less is going to rest of search, and even less is going to product pages. In a well-optimized ACOS, in a well-optimized account, your ACOS across these placements is going to be uniform because they are all correctly managed. But let's take a look of example of a not so optimized account, and it's something that I've audited recently. What we are dealing here with is the spend and placements. And now let's take a look at the account that's not so well optimized. So looking at the spend and placements, there is a humongous amount of spend going towards pages. And now let's take a look at the account that's not so well optimized. There is a lot of spend flowing to product pages, which, like I said, by design is not a placement on Amazon that has buyer's intent. They're not in the mindset of buying, they're in the mindset of comparing. So in this account that's not so well optimized, we are dealing with the product pages that's bleeding the ad spend, almost $8,000 and an ACOS of 190%. Whereas we have less spend going to top of search and less spend going to rest of search that are converting almost as twice better. So if you do this kind of analysis on your account, you would go to Advertising Manager, pull the placement report, and build a simple pivot table. You can simply tell whether your advertising is efficient or not. And this is like number one way to tell if you're doing things correctly. So what most sellers do is, let's say they set a bid of $1 or $1.50, and then they purely manage campaigns by a bid, say an ACOS of 30%. They want to achieve an ACOS of 20%, so they reduce the bid. However, they don't ever account the placement mass that comes into your advertising. So if top of search converts as twice better than product pages, this should be an appropriate modifier here. It's called bid adjustment, used to be called placement modifier. And here's basically the hack. Look at the cost per click on top of search. Let's say it's $1.50. and look at your cost per click on product pages, and let's say it's 80 cents. So the hack is you lower your base bid to match the cost per click on the lowest converting placement, which is product pages. And then you increase your top of search by an amount that equals to your existing cost per click you're getting on that search, on the top of search. So let's say this was $1.80 here, like I said, $1.50 here. So your base bid would be slightly lower than cost per click on your worst converting placement, which is product pages, so it would be 75 cents. And to match cost per click on top of search, you would have your placement modifier set high enough that the math equates to Z cost per click or slightly higher, depending on the ACOS you're getting on your goal. So what did we just do by doing that? We told Amazon that I only want to pay, 80, 75 cents in order to not show up on product pages as much, but I am willing to show up on my best converting placement, which is the top of search. And this instantly cuts wasted ad spend. It reduces your exposure on a placement that you're basing your base bid off. And it actually funnels your ad spend into placement that actually generates sales and at a high conversion. Do this for your top 5 spending campaigns daily, and I'll guarantee you'll see immediate gains. And here is hack number 2. This is not more of a setting, it's more like a behavioral change, where you're not optimizing ads reactively, you do it proactively, and you give it sufficient time for that attribution lag for keywords to convert. So what happens is sometimes people browse, they add your products on Tuesday and they buy it on Thursday. Now that purchase is still going to be attributed to that keyword just 2 days later. So it's always best, when you look at search terms and you look for keywords to negate, you're not looking at the last 7 days. You look at the last 7 days excluding the last 2 days, so you're accounting for that lag in attribution. And so what could be happening is, if you don't account for that, you could very well be negating keywords that has probably converted, but you didn't see it because you were looking at the last 2 days where the purchases still could have came in to these keywords. And whether you're doing this through an ad console or software, we always pick the last at least 30 days of data for the data to be sufficient enough, and excluding the last 2 days. And so, like I said, in this particular example, the last 2 days, they won't be inaccurate. And you could very well be killing keywords that could have gotten you a sale. The last 48 hours is usually incomplete. It shows the ad spend instantly, clicks, but not the sales. Just remember that sales are delayed by 48 hours. And if you're optimizing based on last 48 hours, you're making decisions on the false data. The hack number 3 is a campaign bidding strategy. Now this is where Amazon tricks you. And the way it tricks you is it defaults everything to up and down bidding, and it's just an Amazon's way of you spending a lot more than you intended to. So what up and down bidding does is that it inflates your bid by a maximum 100% at the mercy of Amazon. We are experienced advertisers, we know our margins, we don't want to do that. And so what a lot of people recommend is setting the bids down only. So the down only is good, except one point is, like you remember I mentioned that the placements are very important in Amazon advertising. Not getting the placements right is usually the number one cause of inefficiency of Amazon advertising. And so what this does is dynamic bids down only. It will lower your bids in real time based on Amazon. So what the lower bid could do, as you guess, and how it relates to placements, it could push you to a lower converting placement that is not search based, which is typically product pages, which is product pages by design. So most of the time we don't want our ads convert there, excluding specific reasons where you're maybe conquesting on competitors, etc. Which is why I recommend using fixed bids. And so, and for that exact reason, I recommend using fixed bids, where it says we will use your exact bid and any manual adjustment you set and won't change your bids based on likelihood of sale. So you're already aware of the placements that are converting better by default for most products, top of search and rest of search. And with this idea in mind, this is why we're selecting fixed bids to control the placement of our ads on the placement that are most likely to convert. And so, even if your goal is profit, I still recommend fixed bids, because we know that certain placements are more profitable than others. And this is a hack number 3. The fourth and last hack, very simple, is simply not running out of budget. I've audited an account that has a decent amount of spend of $18,000 a month, but I noticed that they ran out of budget at 3 p.m. So the account is handled by a software, that does its things, target ACOS, optimizations, etc. The software is never looking at details like day parting when the account runs out of budget. And there is like a portfolio cap that's set on an account. So I guarantee you the most expensive way to pay for your advertising is running out of budget early. If you're running out of budget at 3 p.m., it means you're paying so much that, the advertising uses your dollars. And if you were to, decrease bids by, say, 15% across the board for tomorrow, it will guarantee it will probably last until 5 or 6 p.m. or even longer. So if you're stretching that budget throughout the day, not only that you're paying for cheaper clicks, but you're also getting that full day visibility. Because what happens in this particular example is that, so they run their spend, it goes up, so that's where people start, shopping, and here you go, around 3 p.m. there is zero visibility on their account. So if you're on Amazon, people are not just shopping 12 a.m. to 3 p.m. There is a lot of shoppers in the evening time, and there is a different kind of, audience, different kind of conversion. So we set up day parting not to restrict our advertising, but to choose and advertise in our best converting hours. In this example, it's being 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. at 12% conversion rate. And that's kind of the hack of itself, like not setting any account budget caps, not setting any portfolio caps. In fact, I don't even recommend you limit your advertising by campaign budgets. The only exception, it's a new campaign, it's an improving campaign, or something that stopped working. Then yes, there is a place and time for a budget, but typically you do not restrict your spend by budget. You restrict it, or you rather control it with a proper bid and placement in place. Listen, I know these hacks are super powerful and you want to implement all of them, but I don't recommend you do it all at once. It's just too much. And if you update your placements, bids, budgets, etc. all at once and you see your sales drop, you don't know exactly what caused it, right? So first, number one priority, just make sure your campaigns, they're running throughout the day, they're spending, they're not running out of budget. And there is nothing that's stopping your campaigns from spending. That's number one. That's something you can implement right away and you will immediately see some gains. A second is it's more like a mindset. Remember about the attribution lag. In the second week, you could also start optimizing your placements. Week 3 to 4, you can keep optimizing them, and then you slowly change all your bidding strategies to a fixed bidding, and like I said, it just gives you better control over your placements. So they all eventually come into synergy together and making your advertising that much more efficient. So PPC is kind of like a surgery. You use a scalpel, you fix one thing first, you don't use a chainsaw right away, sort of like dismantle everything. If you want to hear more insights on how to scale your business without destroying your margins, without relying on automation software, without relying on agencies that promise you a moon or hand you your account to a junior reps, hit subscribe button. I go in depth on this channel, I show you the real case studies, the real accounts I manage with obviously details hidden. And if you want to know exactly how to find the good keywords to target in your campaigns, there is actually a video right here to watch, and see you in the next video.